here we are. A week flew by. You see how time flies when you're doing nothing? No, honestly, it's been really great. I mean, for so many reasons, but I really have to first congratulate the coaches, and I hope I'm not doing this too much. But, man, you guys are wonderful. I want everybody here to recognize they're giving of their time. Like, everybody here is doing this because they are truly altruists. And when we get very caught up in the world of paying bills and serving members and getting clients, you know, we kind of forget sometimes the heart that drove us here. And that's what you're seeing, is their true hearts are coming forth. So I have never seen a group like this committed to helping other people in one place, especially online. So I want all you guys not only to recognize it, but to take advantage of it, because they love it as much as you will love and appreciate the help. Am I right, guys? I'm looking in the chat window. Echo me on this. So not only are we enjoying Tasso in the morning, seeing him jump in the pool with his clothes on and take a shower with I don't know what, and he's not only entertaining, but man, he is inspirational. And it's going to take me a long time to get over Troy doing the exercises with the camel head. I love the line, he's doing the side front lateral raise, and he goes, it's a little harder to do this when you're wearing a camel head. And he said it so seriously, as if anyone else on the planet would be doing it. You know, Tammy's cooking we're going to talk about, but it's been amazing. Holly adjusting this for seniors, Holden doing it for athletes, Kristen showing you her blood today. That doesn't happen often. So Ariel doing the meditations, and I'm not intentionally or unintentionally leaving anybody out. I'm saying this to all of the coaches. You guys are wonderful, and I really, really, really appreciate you. And I hope everybody here does as well. I know everybody here does as well. I also want to say to you guys, I'm going to say it again later, tell other people to come into this group. Like, there's no reason everybody who's stuck at home shouldn't be a part of it. Right now, it's hard to even get exercise equipment. Like, so many people are used to exercising at a gym, and they're like, oh, I'll just go down to Target and buy some weights. And they're out of weights. And they go, oh, I'll just go online and buy some weights. And nobody has any weights. So everybody should be a part of this. Now, I want to tell you that normally when I do webinars in my programs or live seminars for my programs, they're lengthy. And, you know, that's the good and the bad. Hopefully I can keep it interesting enough that it's not torturous. But you do have to learn the information. The beauty of this is I'm going to do the webinar tonight, but the way I see it, because the coaches are here, I'm just kind of setting the groundwork, and then they're going to fill in the blanks. So I'm going to share some concepts, but then they're going to help you apply all of the specifics to you. So there's the whole bunch of them. You know them, you love them, and now you can't live without them. Now, we started last week talking about breath. We're going to continue to breathe all the way through the program, and my advice is that you continue to breathe beyond, like forever. And when I say breathe, I don't just mean breathe the way the old you used to breathe. I mean the new way. So when we talked about breath, we spoke about not only taking breath in, but if you remember, also expelling all the air. And for those of you who did it for the first time last week, you know it was a weird feeling. You were probably surprised how much came out. But we're emptying. We are getting rid of what doesn't need to be in there, and then we're replenishing it with something new. So just as this concept applies to breath, there's an out and an in. Well, this concept, too, must apply to mindset. A few of you have heard the coaches, many of you have heard a few of the coaches speak about the importance of journaling, and it's one of those things you don't know until you do it. Like, if you're thinking, I'm just not a journaling person, then you'll never know. So you've got to look at this and go, if all these people are telling me that there's something really magical about it, then maybe I should start to try it. Next week, I'm going to talk more specifically about what I'm calling the muscles of mindset. I'm going to help you understand how the EEM holds people back and why you need to release some of its resistive power if you want to achieve what you haven't yet achieved. You're also going to learn how you can tap into the prefrontal cortex to get better at creating more exciting and compelling futures for yourself, and to take control of your RAS so you start to train yourself to focus on the things that will bring you toward betterment. One of the most powerful lessons for me ever that made me a better person and a better coach was the recognition that a thought is physical. And when I say that, it still sounds weird at first. What do you mean a thought is physical? Like I just think something. I could stand still and think. I could lay in my bed and think. Because we think of physical as movement that we can see, movement in the macro. But what about movement in the micro? I mean, if I say your heart is moving, you'll accept that. You go, yeah, of course it is, yeah. If I say your lungs are moving, your diaphragm is moving now, even though it hasn't in years, you're going to go, oh, yeah, I get that. But thoughts, how could they be moving? Well, if we can keep breaking it down smaller and smaller and smaller, we will get to neurons, brain cells. And neurons look different than like blood cells do. Neurons have these branches on them, and they're called dendrites. And when you form a thought, and yes, you do form a thought. When you form a thought, when you structure a thought, if you're accessing your prefrontal cortex and you're going, I wonder what it would be like to do squats in a camel head. Neurons connect to create that thought. And if you never think that thought again, then they will disconnect. So neurons that fire together will create a thought, and if they're not asked to fire together again, they will disconnect. But if every day you start to think about it, and then one day you get yourself your very own camel head, and then every morning you're doing squats with a camel head, neurons that fire together wire together, so you literally form a bridge, a neural bridge. The dendrites connect, they become reinforced, there's a sheath that cements them together, and now you have the pathway. This is why when you first try to do a movement like an anterior reach, those of you who've done it before, you know what I'm talking about. Those who haven't yet, you will. The first time you try it, you're shaky, you're wobbly, because your muscle-mind connection has not experienced this yet. It hasn't formed to achieve this task. So the neurons and dendrites are going, what is this? What is he asking of me? What is she asking of me? But when you do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, they connect. And they stay connected, and then it becomes simple. So the programs that you're running in your mind are in great part the result of the neural bridges you formed. And the concept of neuroplasticity teaches us that we can change our neural wiring. And there are 2 words when you have your internal dialogue, when you talk to yourself in your head. There are 2 words that the EEM, the restrictive muscle of mindset, really uses to keep you from doing things. Can't and but. So as you start to journal, I want you to listen to your own self-talk. I want you to catch yourself. And I think many of you will be surprised how often you use the word can't. You know, it kind of dismisses everything you said before it. Like in a health club setting when somebody comes in and they go, well, I'd really like to work out, but I can't because of my schedule. They're really acknowledging that it's not going to happen. And because they keep reinforcing that every time they have the thought, not only do they believe it, but this dictates their behavior. When they form a new thought, when they go, you know, maybe I could work out at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, at first, they may reject it. They may go, no, never. But then if the following day they set their alarm for 6:30 and they go, you know, it's peaceful at this time of day. The phone's not ringing. And then the following day, they actually go outside and take a walk at 7 o'clock. They're forming new pathways, new neural bridges. Ultimately, their behavior will change, and so too will the outcome. So we will talk about this at length next week. But for now, I just want you to recognize if you have a can't problem or a but problem, I want you to identify that so that we can correct. Last week, I introduced you to the word maladaptation. If you have weight loss resistance, it's a maladaptation in all likelihood of the endocrine system. If you have an autoimmune disease, it's a maladaptation of the immune system. If you have a mindset that is held back because of an overpowering EEM and that fear is preventing you from what you want to do, even if you don't believe it's fear right now, you have a maladaptation, and we can correct it. So the trick, just like with breath, is what we get out and what we put in. So neurons that fire together wire together. Neurons that don't fire together unwire. So when you stop the running of the programs of the can't and the but, now it's far simpler to put in good thoughts. And the most powerful way for you to create changes in belief that ultimately lead to changes in behavior and changes in outcome is to start to create future memories. When I do this in seminars, and sometimes it's a 3-day workshop, I'll bring somebody up to the front of the room and I'll ask them to choose a memory, a time in their life that was somehow emotional. They think, and I say, I want you to now close your eyes and I want you to go there. They go, what do you mean? I go, I just want you to see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt. They go, okay. They're standing, I can tell by watching their physiology when they actually get there. And then I'll ask them some questions. I'll say, what are you wearing on your feet? And they'll look down. Now their eyes are closed. They'll look down and they'll go, I'm wearing Nikes. Okay. I want you to look up. Are you inside or outside? They go, outside. I go, what does the sky look like? They go, it's a little cloudy, but the sun is shining. Okay. What do you feel on your skin? And they go, light breeze. What do you hear? Birds singing. Turn to your right and tell me what you see. Oh, my sister. Now, keep in mind, their eyes are closed, but they can tell me every single detail because the memory is locked into their hippocampus. The memory is there and stored, and it's multisensory. So if I tried to convince them that this never happened, I couldn't. They know it with certainty because it's a memory. Now, if somebody says to me, I'm going to have a 32-inch waist, and I'm going to have abs, and I'm going to look great at 170 pounds on the beach, and I say, you can't do that. Your genetics won't allow it. Your experience won't allow it. You're too old. It's never going to happen. In all likelihood, that could be enough to shut people down because it's a but and a can't. So I cannot talk them out of the memory, but I can talk them out of the imagination. But what if they can create an imagination that is so strong, it behaves like a memory? Well, that's what a future memory is. It is you creating a vision, an outcome, something that hasn't happened yet, and then making it multisensory by literally experiencing it for 5 minutes a day purely through imagination. You can call it a meditation, you can call it an imagination, you can call it a guided meditation if you want to talk yourself through it. Whatever it is you creating new neural wiring in your brain, creating a moment in time that hasn't happened yet, and you're literally creating it. So if we can get the destructive thoughts out, and you can create those future memories, wow, do you operate from a different place. Let me get an amen from anybody who's done this, because I see some of you who've worked with me on this. I know the people in my Be Better group have been a part of this. Just so people know I'm not just making stuff up right now. Future memory is so very powerful in bringing you what you really want if you're courageous enough to acknowledge that you want it. And I think what better time to do it than now in these 55 days. A part of what you want to be aware of is that important balance between stress load and recovery. So I showed you this last week. When we go into fight or flight or we go into an adrenal state, things crank up. And then a healthy individual, once the threat is gone, will come back down. So on the left-hand side, you're seeing sympathetic stimulation. On the right, parasympathetic recovery. And if you look to the far right bottom, it says homeostasis balance. That is the optimal state. That's where we get better. You don't actually grow muscle when you're lifting weights. You grow muscle in that state after the workout. So too many people have been living their lives at that top, at the adrenal stress point. And they develop gut problems and they have sleep problems because they're not calming down. And they look to things external of themselves, like medications. And over time, in most cases, that perpetuates the problem. I showed you last week the chemical or biochemical process that creates the stress state. We want to get you away from that into that optimal state. I mentioned last week that too many people are living their lives with labels because somebody said to you, you are diabetic. You are hypothyroid. And too many people accept the labels. Now, why am I saying too many people? Isn't it appropriate that some people do? I'm going to say this. Those people who do are locked in. If you live the rest of your life believing that you are diabetic, the likelihood of you having the power to change it is next to nil. But if your thought process can be, whoa, I created a diabetic state within myself because of my behaviors and my lifestyle. And this is not guilt. This is acknowledgement. This is responsibility. It's not self-blame. It's having the ability to respond because you realize you were in control. You didn't do it on purpose. But if you can have the thought, I am living right now in a diabetic state, but I can fix it if I make some changes, you can see how that moves you away from restriction and the button to can't and moves you toward a new possibility. So how do you counter those labels you've been living with? I am tired, I am unmotivated, I'm not an exercise person. All of those thoughts will limit you if you believe them. So you now have the power to create a new I am. Don't let somebody else tell you what you are. Listen, if you were really sad at one part in your life and it was justified and merited and you were going through a hard time and you went to a doctor and you wanted medication, the doctor said you are depressed. And now every 30 days you go to Walgreens and you refill that medication. If you're getting the medication because you believe you are depressed, how will you ever escape that? If you believe you went through a difficult time and you were feeling depressed, last week I said you don't become a cold, you have a cold, then at least there's the belief or the hope that you will no longer be. So I'm suggesting you change your thinking by design. So in your journal, you come up with an I am statement. You design it. Now, it shouldn't be a lie. I could write, I am 6 feet tall, and it's not likely to happen. But it should be a belief that you want to hold. So a good one would be, I am powerful. I am in control to a very high degree of my physical destiny. I am able to commit to a program of betterment. Start with that. And once you start to live it, you'll be amazed how strong I am statements become. So we have to get the I can't out, and we have to get the I am in. So positive, this is a word I made up, biochem-mechanical, because we're talking about biochemistry, biology, and biomechanics, the way you move and the way your body operates. Positive biochem-mechanical change is the result of good in and the right out. So it's not only about getting things out, it's also about getting things in. It's not only about getting things in, it's also about getting things out. Breath was an example. Last week, I told you about the importance of having optimal immune function and parasympathetic recovery, but I gave you a whole list of systems. Today, we're going to talk about a different one, the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is a detoxifying system. To oversimplify, it gets rid of cellular waste. It's kind of like a white blood cell graveyard, unless it's working to eliminate that cellular waste. Now, when you're a child and you're active and you're bouncing and you're moving and you're playing ball or you're playing soccer and you're running around, you are moving lymph through that lymphatic system. But the challenge with the lymphatic system is it doesn't have a pump. The circulatory system has the heart that moves blood through every single artery and vein. But the lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. It moves lymph when you move your body through space, when you move dynamically. Believe it or not, one of the ways to effectively move lymph is to breathe using the diaphragm. But when somebody evolves to become a sedentary business person, an inactive working person, or a sitter, as I spoke about last week, they sit at the table, they sit in the car, they sit in the office. Nothing's moving lymph through the lymphatic vessels. So you get buildup of what? Of waste. So if you're looking at your screen, you're seeing what looks like a highway system of lymphatic vessels. And attached to the lymphatic system, you'll see the spleen and the thymus. But if you look at the way the lymphatic vessels are structured, you'll see that right around the belly button, it kind of separates into the left leg and right leg. So you have all of these lymphatic vessels, but there's a center point. If you have a gunked up lymphatic system, you will feel rotten. You will feel tired. And what I find is most people who are sedentary don't know how bad they feel because they're so used to it. But when you start to move that lymph again and start to detoxify, you start to feel amazing. So that's what we want you to do this week. How do you do it? Well, if you can envision that separation or go right to the center of the lymphatic system, you simply punch yourself there. Now, I don't mean super hard. You don't want to bruise yourself. You're not trying to beat yourself up. What Jim Carrey movie was that where he beat himself up in the bathroom? You're not trying to do that. You're simply tapping with force, palpating those lymphatic trunks, and you're waking up the lymphatic system. So this is an exercise that seems absurd, childlike, ridiculous, certainly simple, but the outcome is profound. And this, just like journaling, you don't believe me until you try it. You could do this anywhere. You could do it all day long if you want. It takes moments. You simply stand with your feet planted. I know Troy did a little demo of it today. Throughout the week, all of the coaches will be demonstrating elements of this, and some will show you these lymphatic twists. But you simply stand and you twist from right to left, and you let your arms swing. And you keep twisting, and they get momentum, and then you get to the point that your right fist, loose fist, is punching you in the left side of your lower back, and when you go the other way, your other fist is punching you in the other side. You just go back and forth like a windmill. You do it for 30 seconds or a minute. It's one of these best-kept little secrets. The secret is out. So we will do a lot over the next 49 days. We're 6 days in, but we'll do a lot over the next 49 days to get really good stuff in and to get really unimportant stuff out. So as we move forward with our nutrition, we will get to a point that we start to detoxify, not in a way that's unpleasant, a way that feels great. But now we're getting to kind of the low-hanging stuff, the stuff that's easy. I'm sure you guys are now, if you tried this every day since we last spoke, you're getting the hang of the diaphragmatic breathing, and it feels good. Well, now this week, you're just going to add in the lymphatic twists. Seems silly, but it's incredibly, incredibly valuable. And there's one way to learn, to try it. Then you'll let me know. So we're going to work to get things out throughout these 49 days. We're going to get rid of worry and fear, or we're going to learn to manage them or cope. We are going to get negative thoughts and negative associations to the best of our ability out. So on the other side of this, you're simply better in the way you move, in the way you perform, in the way you think, in the way you achieve. We will get energy disruptors out. Last week I mentioned it. This week I'm telling you now it's time. If you haven't yet, you got to stop with the sugar and the bleach and processed carbohydrates and the alcohol. Forever? That's your call, but at least for the next 49 days. You want to get those little enemies that cause oxidation, like free radicals, to stop causing damage. You want to get any overgrowth of yeast or any what we call bad bacteria, bad biotics that are not serving you out. And you want to get cellular waste out, and it starts with the lumbar twists. There is a condition that chiropractors will call forward head. And it's called forward head because your head walks in a room before you do because it is so far in front of your body. This is an example of a maladaptation. Now, today I'm hearing it referred to as text neck. Text neck. You're supposed to have an inward curve, what's called a lordotic curve in the cervical spine. Lots of young people are developing less of that curve because they're constantly looking down at their phone. So form follows function. What we ask the body to do, the body accommodates. So your well-intentioned body, if you're sitting at a computer all day leaning over a keyboard, it starts to believe in its innate intelligence that this will make life easier for you if it just keeps your head forward. So lots and lots of people have this condition. Here's the good news. In the great majority of cases, it's reversible. Form follows function. So we've got to ask you to ask your body to stand differently. Now, what's so bad about forward head? Nothing except everything. And I say that because when you are in that stance, when you're in that position, especially if you're standing upright rather than leaning on something, gravity does a number on you. Because it's pushing down your head. You don't believe me? Read up on Sir Isaac Newton. He'll reinforce this. So if your head is over your body miraculously, and I mean that, like the human body is an amazing, amazing machine, but you balance it with ease because of the structure and the shape of your spine. But when you maladapt, when you bring your head forward, it's putting a tremendous amount of strain, not only on the spine and the support muscles and the lumbar back, but it is constricting, it is pressing in, it is reducing the cavity, the abdominal cavity, so it is pressing against your internal organs. Now, you now understand from last week how important oxygen is. How can you possibly take in the oxygen that you can utilize if your rib cage is holding your lungs in? So here's the really good news. We're going to correct it now, in these 55 days. So this is actually a pose that is referred to sometimes in yoga as a mountain pose. Really what it is standing with a neutral spine. Your ears align with your shoulders, align with your hips, align with your ankles. When the trainers that work with me do an assessment, it's one of the things we look at, a postural assessment. When the person is standing relaxed, are they aligned? Ears, shoulders, hips, and ankles. Typically, more active people are more aligned than those people who sit at desks all day. So we're going to call this stance the mountain pose. So you're going to incorporate it this week along with some other poses. Within my programs, people become familiar with these four poses. I'm careful not to refer to them exclusively as yoga poses because I once got yelled at by a yogi who said it's not really yoga unless the room is 108 degrees, and she gave me a whole list of things. So I don't run that risk anymore of being attacked by a yogi. I now just say poses. They're poses. They're used in martial arts. They're used in exercise routines, gymnastics. But there are four poses that have names in yoga. They are the child's pose, the upward-facing dog, the 6-inch push-up, and the downward-facing dog. Good work. Aileen just straightened her spine. She's paying attention. I bet a lot of you did that. I bet a lot of you just suddenly sat up taller. And Kristen said, you are strong like a mountain. Yes. So you're going into that pose of strength. As a matter of fact, next week I will talk about the superhero pose and show you some amazing science and research that's really cool. But for now, we'll just begin with the mountain pose. And we'll do these others as well. So in the mountain pose, you simply stand in that alignment, but you tighten up, as we're going to do it, every muscle in your body. You consciously tighten the muscles of your upper back. You pull your abdomen in as if you're trying to touch your belly button to your spine. You probably won't make it. You won't succeed in doing that, but you try. And just the trying is the effort. You tighten up the glutes. That means the butt. And this is a good kind of butt. With 2 T's, it's good. It's the 1 T butt that we want to get away from. And you hold that muscular tension, and because you're using muscle, you can hold that posture. And you do that for 20 seconds, and then you relax the muscles and try to hold the posture. And it's interesting to see what happens, and all the trainers know this. When you have a client tightening up the muscles, they're standing perfectly aligned, and we go, okay, now relax the muscles and keep the posture. And as soon as they relax the muscle, the head goes forward. But remember, form follows function. The more we ask the body to do this, the more it will stay in the proper alignment. So although this, again, it seems overly simplistic, think of it as it is allowing you to utilize life force to fully enter the internal organs. You are releasing the internal organs from restriction or constriction. So I know we're so used to thinking of exercise routines as, curls and bench presses, but these are the elements of human betterment that are neglected. We're bringing it all together, and we're focusing on 6 distinctive points: the brain, the immune system, the gut, mind, spirit, and cell. Now, you see, I said cell, but if you're actually following along, it says CI3. Why would it say that? Well, the C stands for cell. But there are 3 elements of cellular health that we're going to focus on simultaneously. Cellular integrity, meaning the strength of the cell, the structure of the cell. Cellular intelligence, which means, an immune cell has a very specific purpose. When it goes rogue and becomes autoimmune, it has kind of lost its intelligence, or its intelligence has been corrupted. So we want to make sure that we have cellular integrity, ideal cellular intelligence, and cellular interactivity. The cells should play well together. So by bringing together these 6 points, we make you better, or you make you better. I told you that it is difficult if you don't have exercise equipment to get it now, but you can certainly find things around the house. Yesterday I did a workout with a couple of bricks. They were the pavers from my driveway that were left over. You can certainly find ways, and the coaches will continue to offer you options and things that you could do, and certainly ask questions and put comments in after their shows. So let us coach you as you best need to be coached. But this is really all you need. If you have this, stability ball, medicine ball, dumbbells, resistance tubing, that's your whole gym. Now, if you were to go into a mainstream health club, what we call a big box health club, you'd probably find 60 or 70 selectorized exercise machines, meaning it's an apparatus with the weights, and you put the pin in, and you set it on 40 or 60, and then you do the movement. The truth is, there are probably only 8 machines. Now, why would I say that? Is it an optical illusion? Well, no, they actually have 60 or 70 physical machines, but many of them replicate the same movement. So whether you're doing a leg press, or a lying leg press, or a hack squat, or a Smith machine squat, you're actually doing the same movement. You are flexing and extending the hip and knee joint. If you're doing a bench press, or a seated chest press, or a push-up, it's the same movement. You are pushing away from the body. If you do a seated row, or a barbell row, or a bent over row, you're doing a pull. So many people go to a gym and overtrain because they're kind of following the herd. Or a trainer takes them through a workout and needs to fill an hour. So they go, let's do 4 sets here and 4 sets there. But if we're really focusing on making the body better, then all we really need are 3 movements. Because when we move in the real world, we utilize these 3 movements interactively. A squat, a push, and a pull. That's it. So if right now our intention is to challenge the body appropriately and then allow it to recover, because remember, we're trying to recreate optimal parasympathetic recovery, bring it back to homeostasis. We want to challenge the body, but we want to allow it to fully recover. We don't want to do a ton of exercise. Now, Holden will speak to the thoroughbreds this week, because the thoroughbreds are people who love exercise and they train hard. And I'm going to suggest you do a 9 or 12-minute routine, and I know thoroughbreds will lose their marbles when they hear that, until they go through a week of it, and then they're going to go, oh my God, I feel great. I can't believe it. You just have to find a way to challenge yourself in these 3 movements appropriately and then rest. So the idea is low volume of exercise, but high intensity of exercise. So there are literally hundreds of variations of the squat, and the coaches will demonstrate some of them this week. You'll get a wide range of things that you could do that would be flexion extension of the hip and knee joint. There are infinite variations on the push and infinite variations on the pull. So for all of you, you're going to follow a routine that incorporates all of these things in small doses, and we can get the whole thing done in 9 minutes. If you don't believe me, if you're listening and you're going, he doesn't understand, I'm super fit, I train hard, I won competitions. Man, I know. I want you to trust me here. I've been doing this for a while, working with people from every imaginable walk of life, every age group, every fitness level, almost every sport. What you need right now is a way to balance stress and recovery. And the eustress, meaning the good stress that you're going to do, is exercise. But what if we could do it in 9 minutes? Why would you do more? And here's the beauty of it. If you can, let's just say you can maintain. Let's say you're used to going to the gym for 90 minutes a day, and now for 1 week you can maintain, not lose any muscle, not gain any fat, maintain, but you're only doing 9 minutes. Next week, if you go to 12 minutes, it's a progression. And then when we go to 15, it's a progression. We go to 30, it's a progression. And imagine how much better the outcome will be. So this is the 9-minute routine. You start with your diaphragmatic breaths. Then you go into a mountain pose. You hold it 20 seconds, you release the muscular tension, you try to hold the pose. You then grab back that muscular tension and you try to release and hold the pose. From there, you go into a child's pose, an upward-facing dog, 6 super slow push-ups. Now, thoroughbreds, I know you can do push-ups all day long, but I'm talking about 1 push-up every 10 seconds without resting in between, really slow. Now, if you're not a thoroughbred and you're hearing that and you're going, I can't even do 1 push-up, it's okay. Here's what you'll do. You lay down as if you're going to do a push-up, and you press the floor, you push the floor as if you're trying to push it down into the center of the earth. And you just put that effort forth. And I can't tell you how often we see people who start out there and wind up doing like show-off push-ups on a stability ball, which we'll get to. You know, for many people who've gone through my programs, there are like these celebratory moments because they remember. So, you know, sometimes our mind, remember the first day you couldn't do a single push-up? And now they're doing push-ups with their toes on a stability ball. So you'll go through your slow push-ups, and then you go into a downward dog. Now, for those who are handling the push-ups really well, you're still going to feel fatigued at the end of that minute, and that downward dog feels really good. It's like an inverted V. Then you go to a pull. What pull? It's up to you. So this is why the coaches will come to the rescue beginning tomorrow and show you variations and options. But you're going to keep the muscles under tension for 1 minute. And keep in mind what I'm saying. If you think that's not enough for you, you believe what you believe because of what you've been told. Now you're being told something different, so give it a try. Let's just see what happens. Then you go into your windmills, lumbar taps. Seems silly. You could laugh it off and skip it, or you can get the maximum benefit from it and find it really does have a profound outcome. Then you'll do your squat. If you're a thoroughbred, we could make those squat jumps where you go down really slowly, keeping the muscular tension, and you explode up. And then, I know the thoroughbred well. when I say the next thing I'm going to say, you're going to curl up into the fetal position. But uncurl and get into a mountain pose. 3 minutes of aerobic movement. Now I'm going to say this. I'm not talking to the thoroughbred when I say that. I'm talking to the chrysalis. Okay, so the thoroughbred can do a little bit more than that. But those who are limiting it to 3 minutes, it's enough. And within the 3 minutes, 20 seconds at a higher intensity. That's it. Now, I know that Kristen and Angelica and Aileen are planning on doing a live broadcast tomorrow in a class setting, taking people through these routines. So you don't have to learn it completely from this right now. You just have to understand the concepts. The 12-minute routine is a little bit of an advancement. An advancement? Is that a word? An advancement. It's an advancement. The 12-minute routine is a progression from the 9-minute routine. It's not the number of minutes, it's the strategy underlying the routine. So in the 12-minute routine, we add some things. We add something called the tree pose, where you're going from the mountain, where you've got both feet planted on the ground, balancing well, to standing on one leg, where it's a little more challenging. You're less stable. Instead of just doing squats, you're going to do what we call a wood chop, where you're using a medicine ball and twisting and rotating. And all of these things are progressive. So we have the 9-minute routine. We have the 12-minute routine. So let's start from the bottom of this page. The chrysalis will start with the 9-minute routine, and you'll do that all week. And I'm going to give you a heads up. The following week, you'll progress to the 12-minute routine, and it will be enough. The phoenix will start with the 9-minute routine, but if somewhere along the week, after 2 days, 3 days, you feel like, okay, I can handle more, you can go to the 12-minute routine. And the thoroughbred, this should make you feel at least a little better. You don't have to do the 9-minute. You can go right to the 12-minute. And you'll do 30 minutes of cardio, 20 for the phoenix. That's it. Now you're going to rely on your coaches. And they're going to coach you through it. I will make this entire presentation available to you. So it's really simple. Just look at your category and follow it exactly as it's laid out. So we are now entering what would be the second week of our 55 days. You're following the same nutritional guidelines, metabolic eating. There are 3 phases of circadian nutrition. You're going to go through all 3. The last one is more of a detox. The second one is more aimed at fat loss. Right now, supportive nutrition, supporting your energy output, supporting metabolic energy, and working to support your metabolism. So all the same rules I gave you last week apply. Each meal will contain a natural source of protein, a protein-sparing nutrient, and a fibrous carbohydrate. I gave you this very abbreviated overview, but I also introduced you to Tammy. And that, in itself, is worth the price of admission. So you now have my Metabolic Meals recipe book, and you have Tammy to Tammyize the recipes. And I know that's been amazing for people, including me. Like, these are recipes I made before, but now I make them Tammy style, and I really like them. So you have no excuse here. Anybody can do this. So here's an overview. 9, 12, or wait a minute, what is that? A 14-minute routine? Phil didn't mention a 14-minute routine. What in the world is that, the thoroughbred wonders? Cardio, it's actually 3 to 30 minutes. You'll do this routine every single day, staying with the same nutrition. The supplements I recommended last week, or I mentioned last week, are certainly as valid now as they were then. You want to try to get 7-8 hours of sleep and drink plenty of water to stay hydrated. Now, the 14-minute routine may take some of you more than 14 minutes, so I'm saying 14 minutes-ish. And I'm going to urge you to pay no attention to this right now. But I just want you to know this is coming. So the thoroughbred, within all of the rules that I just laid out, keeping the exercise brief, staying to a limited number of movements, challenging the body and focusing on recovery, I'm making you a promise. When Holden gets his hands on you with this routine, you will beg for mercy. Okay, maybe you won't beg for mercy, but you like the routine. I gave you 3 words last week. I'm going to repeat them every single week because they may be the most important words that I use. Laugh, love, and listen. You're going to continue to journal. If you're watching Brasilia segments and you do have a resource where you can go get IVs and you feel it's safe and you're keeping precautions, certainly a good thing to do. Everything that has been sent to you is accessible in the group under files, but I want you to pay particular attention to where it says invite members. We're still early enough in the program that anybody can jump in. This webinar recording will be posted before midnight, so if anybody wasn't here live, they could still access it. So let's just get more and more and more people to get better over this course of 55 days. Any thoughts, comments, questions? I'm keeping an eye right now on the chat window. Anything you want to share or add? Will, you're welcome. Please continue to tune in to all of the great shows. Remember, you're not going to get this anywhere else. You can't get this on MSNBC or CNBC or NEC. You're going to only get it here. And Ariel is putting together a dance party this Friday. So I believe that Tony, who is a musician, will be playing an instrument. We're going to try to get Ernie from Canada to join us on a Zoom call. I'll be playing some kind of instrument. Gary Shulman's going to be playing the drums. I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but whether it is a huge success or just fun, you should be a part of it. So Ariel will keep you posted on the dance party. Kristen says, you know I'll dance. All right, so everybody's going to stay connected. Keep bringing more and more people in. Until we speak again, here is your prescription. Diaphragmatic breaths, lumbar twists, 9 or 12-minute routine, 3 to 30 minutes of aerobic exercise with a brief period at a higher intensity. Make sure you cool down, meditate, visualize and create a future memory, no energy disruptors, plenty of water, plenty of sleep, laugh, love, and listen. And until we speak again, be better, everybody. See you in the group. Bye-bye.